Breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Vikings season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is Robbie Rosenhaus, gets all of our clips ready, all of our interviews, gets us on the air. And Robbie, we're coming off another rather disappointing, semi-disastrous Sunday at US Bank Stadium. Vikings can't figure out how to win home games. Their young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, another up and down effort, very inconsistent, very inaccurate in this game. Terrible first 3.5 quarters, and then flipped the switch on the final drive and played terrific. So if they could just figure out how to bottle that and get that J.J. McCarthy, that's the one that we want to see, and that's the one that gives the franchise hopes for a great future. I'll say this right off the bat, Robbie. There are a lot of quarterbacks in NFL history that have started their careers very rocky. And I'm thinking of Peyton Manning, was 3-13 his first year, had about a 54 passer rating, led the league in interceptions with 28 for the Colts. By his second season, the Colts won the division title. And fortunately for me, our Titans beat him in the playoffs. But Peyton Manning was on his way to a Hall of Fame career. It didn't start right out that way. Troy Aikman, 0-11 his first season. So I guess the message that I would think Kevin O'Connell is telling himself today, and probably maybe telling the Wilfs and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa, is don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and have to have patience with young JJ, 22 years old, 5 NFL starts. But man, was that rough. His accuracy, his overthrows of Jefferson, and then he wasn't helped by 6 drop passes in the game. Jefferson, Addison drops 2, Hawkinson, Jones, Thielen. That does not help a young quarterback at all. And it was on a day when he had good pass protection and a good running game, and yet they couldn't move the ball effectively because of all kinds of circumstances, mostly because of JJ's inaccuracy those first 3.5 quarters. Then all of a sudden, they're in position to win the game, and their kickoff coverage unit can't stay in their lanes on kick coverage. Ivan Pace is running across 3 different lanes, doesn't stay in his lane, and he wasn't the only one in that situation. Unfortunately for the Vikings, they give up a 56-yard kickoff return to Devin Duvernay. Just kind of, I would call it symptomatic of a season where there have been too many mistakes, whether it's the quarterback, whether it's penalties, whether it's drop passes, whether it's kick coverage, and that contributes to a 4-6 record.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you look at the defensive side of the ball, and if it wasn't for the offensive ineptitude, the Vikings would have won this game in a walk. I mean, look at what the Bears did offensively. There wasn't a lot going on. They had a couple of miracle 3rd and forevers that they converted. But as we'll hear from in a few of these interviews that I pulled, I mean, Caleb Williams is a tough guy to bring down. And for the Vikings defense to really hold them and only gift them a touchdown on a turnover, it just goes to show you how the Viking defense really has come around. I'm trying to ignore the big elephant in the room, which is the quarterback. But again, as you said, the young quarterbacks don't come in the league like Jaden Daniels, like Ben Roethlisberger, and immediately skyrocket to the top. It's more that's more the exception to the rule rather than the rule to the exception. And I think what factors in, Jeff, and you can speak to this as somebody who ran the team, and I can speak to this as somebody who's followed the team for 30 years, is that this fan base is so hungry for a winner and so desperate for the quarterback to be good after so many attempts at getting a franchise guy potentially in here and failing. I think everybody thought that JJ was the one and he'd hit the ground running, and unfortunately, that's not the case.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a tough situation. The Vikings aren't dead in the water yet, but if they lose the next 2 weeks at Green Bay and Seattle, two tough road tests, that could be the case. But the amazing thing and the bizarre thing about this whole season, they've been a better road team. They're 3-2 on the road and only 1-4 at home. Who knows? The Packers have been up and down, struggling. We're somewhat fortunate they played the Giants on Sunday, and they're not any great shakes right now. They may have lost Josh Jacobs, their best running back, for several weeks, including next week. And then Seattle, Sam Darnold threw 4 picks in the Rams game, their big showdown with the Rams. That's kind of the team that's been his kryptonite, as we saw last year in the playoffs and in the regular season. So there's no telling what can happen with this team if the quarterback can play more consistently and they continue to run the ball and stay healthy, get Jonathan Grenard back. They missed him yesterday. Obviously, they're one of their best defensive players. So a lot of things happened, but ultimately, when you take a 1-point lead with 50 seconds to go and you're kicking off and you allow a 56-yard kickoff return, that's just ridiculously bad special teams play. And especially when special teams coach Matt Daniels had talked to the players during the week about Devin Duvernay, who's a Pro Bowl returner, and that he'll go back against the grain across field, and they still ran out of their lanes. If they stay in their lanes and they pin him back, hey, the Bears may still go down and kick that winning field goal. And it's not solely on McCarthy, not solely on, especially the defense still has a little bit of blame. Even on that last drive, the Bears are at the Viking 40. If they shut them down there, stop the run, but DeAndre Swift gets 7 yards on 3rd down, sets up an easier kick. Otherwise, Santos is kicking from 55 yards or 56, and he'd already missed his last kick. So it's a crazy situation. It's kind of what happens to teams when they're not having a winning season. The Vikings got the breaks last year when they won 14 games. This year they're not happening. Balls are bouncing weird. There's a fumble, and the other team's recovering it. So they're not getting the takeaways. They're losing the turnover battle again, 2-0 yesterday. Those are the things that have to change. And that's how the Vikings last year, 33 takeaways, led the league, a plus 12 turnover ratio, 3rd in the league. They're -9 now, and that's the second worst. The Bears are plus 16, the best in the league, and that's why they're in first place. So, although I'm not giving the Bears the division title, because they still have to face Green Bay twice, Chicago once. They got to play the Eagles. I think the Bears are going to probably end up 9-8, and we'll see what happens with the Vikings. They probably have to win 6 out of the next 7 to get to 10 wins, make the playoffs. Stranger things have happened, but they got to play better in all 3 phases, clearly. Robbie, let's go to some of our audio highlights from the game and a couple of lowlights. And here was one in the second quarter. J.J. McCarthy off to that bad start in this game. And here was an interception he threw intended for Justin Jefferson. He admitted after the game he should have checked it down to C.J. Ham because Jefferson's drawing double coverage, and he's getting pressure coming his way. But here's the interception.
By Byard. Kevin Byard with some room to roll. Gets a couple blocks inside the 30. The 5th interception, the league leader. It's a little.
As I said, JJ just a little too inaccurate in this game. Some poor decisions, such as on that interception. And these are the growing pains he's going through. We'll just see how it turns out in Green Bay this coming week. As I said, the Vikings 6 drops in the game. That didn't help them. Fourth quarter, Vikings get the ball on a great punt return by Miles Price sets them up in Chicago territory at the 24. And Jordan Mason, 2 carries, and he's in the end zone.
Stick with the run. It's Mason. Off the tackle, Jordan Mason. In. Touchdown, Vikings.
Then, later fourth quarter, that terrific last drive by McCarthy on that final drive, 6 of 8, 76 yards, touchdown, completes a 4th and 4 to Addison, and then this touchdown pass to Jordan Addison.
Here's McCarthy. Looking, firing, end zone, and caught! Touchdown! Addison!
Now, I don't know about you, Robbie, at this point. I still didn't feel good about it because I just felt like they had done so many bad things in this game in so many areas that I didn't trust with 50 seconds to go. I was thinking maybe they should have milked the clock a little more. Maybe they should have run it a couple times, forced the Bears to take timeouts or whatever the case may be, run that clock down a little bit. 50 seconds is a lifetime in the NFL, and Caleb Williams has had a lot of success with late drives. As it turned out, he didn't have to do anything hardly because of this disaster play.
No, I actually felt good. I thought all the momentum was with the Vikings. I mean, there were certain flash points in the game where the Cairo Santos missed a field goal, but then the Vikings went 3 and out. And then as we're hearing kind of here in the fourth quarter, obviously that Duvernay return. But before that, no, I thought they were gonna cover the return and find a way to kind of limit the gain and not even allow a field goal attempt. I actually thought they were going to win ugly, find a way to get by, and win their second home game of the year. Turns out they still sit on 1. They're going to have to wait a while till the Commanders game in about a month's time, and maybe clean up the special teams by then. We'll see if they're still alive when they come home.
Yeah, exactly. And clean up their quarterback's play, and a lot of things have to happen, catch the ball and so forth. So, as we said, Vikings dropped this game 19-17, and we're going to hear from the coach and the quarterback and a couple players, and then kind of look around the league. But first, let's talk about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. GMC trucks weren't built overnight like every American achievement. They are a result of dedication, a dedication to mastering the art of design and the science of engineering, to building upon prior knowledge year after year, decade after decade. GMC, over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering and the ambition to always move this country forward. We are professional grade. Well-qualified buyers get 0% APR on 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 crew cab models with a 5.3-liter engine with an average finance savings of $4,692. See your local GMC dealer today. Only on 5.3-liter V8 engine for purchase allowance. Length of contract limited. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers will not qualify. Savings based on bank rate of 5.64%. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/1/25. Kevin O'Connell, he's got to be pulling his hair out at this point about his young quarterback and the ups and downs that they're experiencing. Maybe he doesn't feel as bad about letting Sam Darnold go today since he threw 4 interceptions, or Daniel Jones, who's been a turnover machine lately. But JJ is definitely a challenge for the head coach and his quarterback guru reputation. Here's Kevin O'Connell post-game talking about JJ's inconsistency and the tough loss.
Just a couple of those plays, he was frustrated, and I just kept telling him, feet and eyes, and the things that we saw throughout the week on the practice field. Make it about that. And I thought he did some nice things, checking the ball down a couple times. Yeah, we might have, missed some chances down the field in the play pass game, or missed some chances, maybe to convert on some third downs and get a new set of downs and can continue with the rhythm. But it's just about the next play in that moment. You obviously coaching principles, and I know Josh is coaching, footwork and technique, and I'm trying to call things that I feel will have the best chance to give him rhythm throws, but at the same time, just find different types of throws that I know I've seen him hit and start stacking them. And then I will say I was really proud of the way he finished that drive, throwing some completions. The fourth down, they brought a kind of different kind of zero than what we saw. He sped it up to Addison, and then we were able to kind of finish that drive for a touchdown. So there's going to be, with a young quarterback, there's going to be a lot of things that we'll pinpoint and continue to highlight and tie that preparation throughout the week and our plans to, what he does well and continue to coach the things that where we feel the emphasis needs to be on. But it's part of the young QB journey. It just results like today, and especially when you're able to kind of fight through it all, get the lead. You would love to be making a lot of those growth coaching points and development coaching points with a 1-point win, but credit the Bears for getting it done in the end.
Yeah, there were some good things that happened in the game, some good defense from time to time on Williams, and Vikings ran the ball pretty well in the game, 122 rushing yards for Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones, 5.2 average. Those are all good numbers to help the young quarterback, but if he can't complete simple throws, third down conversions, it's going to be tough, and that's what obviously the coach is working on with the quarterback, and just a lot of things have to happen. As we said, his poise, his excellence on that final drive. That's why I say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That there is talent with this guy, and I think that they just have to be patient. But it's hard to be patient when you've got a veteran team with a lot of players that want to win now, with a coaching staff that expects to win now, that won 14 games. It's a tough year. It's just hard to believe, Robbie, that they would win in Detroit, where they haven't won in 5 years, and then come home and lose winnable games to Baltimore and Chicago, two games where the defense probably played well enough to win, but had lapses from time to time. And that happened again at times on Sunday. And so it's just hard to understand how those things can happen, but that happens in the NFL.
And you look around the league, there's some confounding results. Look at the Falcons. I mean, they got waxed at home by the Dolphins. They lost to the Panthers yesterday at home, but yet they but they beat the Bills at home, and they come on the road and basically handle the Vikings with ease. I mean, the Giants beat the Eagles. I mean, I know Jackson Dart's a great story, but you see the way the Eagles defense has played the last 2 games. I'm sure we're going to get into that Eagle-Lion game at the end of our show here today, but Eagle defense is playing as well as anybody in the league right now, and the Giants went in there and beat them, or they beat them at home. So in this league, it's a week-by-week league, as we see. Vikings walk into Detroit, they win. They lose it to Chicago at home. So that's why gambling on this league is sometimes a very, very tricky proposition, right, Jeff?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't do it. I know well enough that anything can happen in any game, and so we'll see how it shakes out. JJ McCarthy post game talking about the misses.
You just can't miss those. This league's too hard. There's 3 or 5 decisions, plays that I want back more than anything, and that's one of them. It's an opportunistic concept against an opportunistic defense, and I have to deliver. So I put that completely on me, obviously.
Yeah. So and JJ owns up to it. He keeps fighting. I think he's got the wherewithal emotionally to handle it. But I also think, Robbie, he enters these games and he's just so amped up that you can see it on some of those early throws, that just sailing way over the head of Justin Jefferson and throwing these 100-mile-an-hour fastballs on almost every throw. He's got to learn the touch, develop that touch, especially when he's throwing to Aaron Jones, who's 10 yards away from him at times. And so those are the things I think that will develop over time, but it's hard to have patience in the meantime when you're losing tough games like that game. Justin Jefferson, again had another drop in this game. Dropped a touchdown pass in the Ravens game, and he's frustrated. We saw that on camera when he slammed his helmet on the sideline. Justin obviously wants to have more targets, more production, and he talked post game.
All of us, I felt like we should have played better, all in all. But at the end of the day, when it all counted and it all mattered, JJ stepped up. So that's the main key focus of it. Of course, there are things to work through. Of course, there's things to fix on the offensive side of the ball, and we feel that we have to help the defense out a lot more than what we're doing. So, just like I said, we got to look at the film, see the different things that we need to fix and work on, and come back ready to work.
One of the good signs in Sunday's game, the Vikings were better on penalties. Only 2 penalties in the game for 15 yards, but one of them was costly. It was after 8 false starts against the Ravens. They only had 1 false start in this game, but it was by Christian Darrisaw on a 3rd and 2 in the third quarter, which turned it into a 3rd and 7. And McCarthy throws one of his bad sailing over the head of Jefferson into the Bears bench, and the Vikings are off the field. So even still, have more to clean up, but it was better penalty wise. That was a positive. But time of possession, a big problem. Bears 37-23 in this game. Bears did run the ball for 140 yards, and DeAndre Swift, who they had held to 53 in the opener in Chicago in that Vikings win, he had 90 yards in this game, and they held Caleb Williams to 26. But again, they were still hurt on the ground. Monangai had some big first down carries. And as I said, I think one of the qualms I have about the defense in this game, on that last series, they're 3rd and 7. They're going to run the ball. They don't want to throw an incompletion and give the Vikings time on the clock because the Vikings are out of timeouts. There's about 30 seconds left or whatever. So they're not going to throw the ball. And the Vikings are still playing their normal deeper coverage safeties. They should have had everybody at the line of scrimmage. Harrison Smith, Metellus, Theo Jackson, Cashman, Eric Wilson, the whole gang should have been at that line of scrimmage, and they weren't on that play. And I think Brian Flores is a great coordinator, but I did not like their alignment there. I don't know why they were worried about the Bears throwing that situation. They were not going to throw the ball under any circumstances.
No, and I was a bit confused also, and I think again it may have come down to that last kick, but I mean let's go back to the kick return. I mean you hit on it a couple of times in this episode about Duvernay liking to cut across the field. I saw 96 chasing after him. I saw Pace chasing after him. I mean, that can't happen. I mean, we talked about in the special teams aspect of things against the Ravens going up against Harbaugh, a former special teams coach, how they were going to have to shore things up last week. And now this week, they allow that to happen, especially after a big kickoff return by Price preceding that. So that's where my focus is on. But you're right in that the defense should have done better on that drive. But they did enough really good things in that game where I don't put this loss on them.
No, and you talk about that kick coverage. The players in question, Ivan Pace, he's a veteran now. He should know better than to get out of his lane. 2 rookies, Austin Keys and Ty Felton, get out of their lanes. So it's Tavier Thomas and Tyler Badian, and they're holding down that whole right side as Duvernay, a Pro Bowler, is cutting right. Bad situation. And the worst part about it is that Matt Daniels had talked to the players during the week about that this is something he'll do, and they still didn't follow instructions, made the mistake, and those are the kind of mistakes that cost games.
Did you happen to see Daniels and O'Connell right after the kickoff?
Oh yeah.
Daniels walked right by O'Connell. One or the other walked right by the other, and there was not a glance between them. And no. O'Connell yelled something that we can't say on the airwaves. And
no, that's right. The head coach was very unhappy with that sequence, and as you said, the defense played pretty well in the game. Dallas Turner, one of the bright spots, and with Grenard out, I thought he probably had his best game as a Viking. The first round pick from last year, along with McCarthy, that's a good development for this team. He had a sack. Dallas Turner had 2 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles in the game. Van Ginkel had a big game too, with 8 tackles and a couple tackles for loss. So defensively, they did some good things in the game. But Caleb Williams also missed some open receivers where some of the DBs were beat, and and they had DJ Moore had a
with a big drop, right?
big drop. So it wasn't only on the Viking side that the dropsies were going on. But here's Dallas Turner after the game talking about what happened on defense.
They played better on all 3 phases, from offense, defense, special teams. We just got to get back to the drawing board and just clean up the stuff that we need to clean up on, and just go for it the next week.
You feel like you guys contained Caleb Williams pretty well?
Yeah, of course. That's a very Houdini-like quarterback. So it's going to take more than one person to bring him down, of course. But I feel like as a front seven, we did our best, in order to contain him, and just try to eliminate as much plays as he can using his legs.
The frustration level, you guys played as well as you did defensively, just to come up short in a game like that. What is the frustration level after that?
On defense, we played with a very high standard. So, just the way for it to go out the way we did, it was just, wasn't the way we wanted to go. We kind of had expectations of going out there and finishing the game, calling the game. But, it didn't turn out that way.
So this could be another week where the Vikings, again, backs against the wall, as they were when they went to Detroit, following the loss to the Eagles, and an angry team. And perhaps they'll go into a situation in Lambeau Field. They won there last year. Who knows? It could happen again. The Packers have been very up and down, not very good at home. Lost to Carolina at home this year. So definitely not going to say that it can't happen on Sunday in Green Bay, but it's certainly a huge game for the Vikings. We know that. They don't want to drop to 4-7. And the Packers, 6-3-1 on the Bears trail, 7-3. And they're in a tight race too. So it should be an exciting game. We're going to break it down on Thursday on our show, Vikings and the Packers. But let's go around the league real quickly here and talk about some of the big games that happened on Sunday. The Lions lose in Philadelphia, as Robbie mentioned earlier. Jared Goff, a rough day, 14 out of 37, and he's one of the most accurate passers in the league. He had a J.J. McCarthy kind of accuracy day, really bad for Goff, and the Packers, or the Lions, lose a game in Philly, where the Eagles didn't do that much offensively, but their defense is playing terrific right now. Green Bay is coming off a 27-20 win over the Giants at the Meadowlands. Jordan Love hurt his shoulder, came back in the game, and as I mentioned earlier, Josh Jacobs, their top running back, one of the best in the league, hurt his knee, and he is probably going to be out this week. Be a surprise if he makes it back for that game. And so that should be a help to the Vikings run defense in that game. So other big games around the league, the Rams over the Seahawks 21-19 and their showdown in the NFC West. Matthew Stafford, 2 more touchdown passes, no turnovers. He's now got 22 touchdown passes, no interceptions in the last 7 weeks. The Rams might be the best team in the league. It's kind of maybe a little bit under the radar because everybody's thinking about the Eagles and some of the other teams, but the Rams are playing great football on both sides of the ball. They intercepted Sam Darnold 4 times. And Denver pretty much knocked the Chiefs out of the AFC West race with a 22-19 win in Denver. Bo Nix didn't turn it over. Patrick Mahomes did. And their Kansas City is now in trouble at 5-5. The Bills beat the Bucks in a big game. For Buffalo, Josh Allen, 6 touchdowns in that game. Great for my son-in-law's fantasy team. 3 rushing and 3 passing. And Robbie, we're going to be back on Thursday to break it all down. So break down the Vikings and the Packers. The border battle should be an exciting one. This has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday and Thursday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers and the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via link from the Score North website. This is Jeff Diamond with Robbie Rosenhaus. Everybody have a great week, and we will talk to you on Thursday when we break down Vikings and Packers.